Hello and welcome to another wrap-up. May was fun and fresh. I had a lovely reading slump in the beginning of the month because I overexerted myself in April a little bit. So the first half of the month until Bookoplathon, I didn't read that much. I read like a book, which is not usual for me. I know that that is like a lot for some people. For me, it's not good. But the second half of the month was much better. I ended up reading 8 books in total, which is good. It's my norm, I guess. But let's just get into the stats. In terms of genre, I read 2 fantasy books, 4 romance books, 1 mystery thriller, and 1 magical realism or contemporary, I don't really know. And then in terms of star rating, I read 1 5-star, 1 4-star, 3 3.5 stars, 1 3-star, 1 2.5 star, and 1 2-star. Clearly, not that great. And in total, I read 2,595 pages. Yep. Now let's get into the books. So the first book that I read in May was an arc from NetGalley called 24-Hour Dating Agency by Mary Jane Baker, and this is about 3 friends. I have completely forgotten the names, so I don't know. And they're all in their 30s/40s. The oldest one is like 45 or something, and they all have a struggle with dating. So they all go into this dating agency that promises to find your soulmate within 24 hours. So they all go in there and they all are set up with a date with a mystery person and blah blah. I ended up giving this a 3.5. It was okay. It wasn't the best thing of my life. I felt like the beginning of the book really dragged. I wanted to get into the book, but it was kind of hard until they went to the agency. Then it picked up and was slightly better. The book was predictable, which I say a lot about contemporary romances, but it's true. It was very predictable. Only one thing really shocked me, which I'm obviously not gonna say because spoiler. But apart from that, there's nothing really wrong with it. The 3 characters were fun, but I think it would have worked better if all 3 had separate books, kind of like the Brown sisters. In this book, the 3 characters, there were 2 women and 1 guy, and the guy got much less screen time than the rest, so I couldn't really relate or like him as much. I feel it would have worked slightly better if they had their own separate books, so we could focus on their lives, but I get why they're in one. Still, I don't know. It was okay. The next book that I read was another arc from NetGalley called The Italian Job by Kathryn. My dog is snoring. By Kathryn Freeman, which follows 2 characters, a woman and a man. Again, I forgot the names. The woman has just been forced to quit her job, and the guy got out of prison, and they're both looking for jobs, and the woman finds a job of being like the caretaker of this hotel / like castle in obviously Italy, and to manage that place she needs to be in a relationship. They're looking for a couple, so she obviously fake dates the neighbor. Once again, it's a fake dating book because why would it not be? I gave this a 4. It was super fun. Not amazing or anything, but it was really fun and I really liked it. The 2 main characters obviously date. Their banter is amazing. The smut is great. It's not very spicy, but it's still good. I liked how it was a good slow burn, like a healthy one, not a stupid one like sometimes it is. The only thing that annoyed me about their relationship was they kept making assumptions about each other, which, talk to each other, please. It was set in Italy, but it didn't feel like Italy. The only thing that they mentioned that was slightly Italian was that they were in Italy and they ate pizza. And the second thing was a spoiler, so if you don't want to know, skip until this time. But the parents end up dating, and I found that was really gross and creepy, and I don't like it. The next book that I read was finally a physical book, which was Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown, which is about a girl living her life. I don't know how to explain this, to be honest. It's about a girl who grows up having magical powers-ish. It's magical realism, so. But she can do some magical things like stop time, or when horrible shit is happening to her, she can get out of her body and stay on the ceiling. It's a memoir, sort of the author, and it's about Echo's life growing up and stuff, and graduating high school and shit like that. I thought I was gonna love this because Books and Lala raves about this book all the time. She loved this. She says it's one of her favorite books. But I did not like it. In the recent years, I've discovered that I fucking hate magical realism, and I didn't know that this was magical realism. So that was a mistake on my part. I gave this a 2.5. It's in the middle. It's not bad, it's not good. I just did not like it. It's not for me. It talks about a lot of important stuff, about racism, poverty, women's struggles, minors being essayed, basically. A lot of dark shit that is important to read, honestly, but like, I would have preferred if it wasn't magical realism. I don't know. The only scene that I did like was at the end when all the friends are riding on trees. That was a great scene. I loved that. But apart from that, there was nothing really that stood out to me. That's just my opinion. And also the magical realism part, as I said, I hate that. But also the part about being a wizard was really confusing to me. I did not get it. So yeah, unfortunately I did not like this. I'm really sad because this is a beautiful book and everyone loves this and everyone cries with this, and I didn't, and I feel like something's wrong with me. The next book that I read in May was another arc called The Woman in the Library by Sulari Gentill, which is about a group of strangers who meet in a library when they hear a scream, aka a woman was murdered in the library. That's the fastest explanation of the plot. I gave this a 2-star. I did not like it. When I requested this, I thought they were gonna stay in the library until the killer was found, but that was not what happened. The book in the beginning was really slow and I didn't like it, but I pushed through it. This is a book within a book, kind of. We follow a woman who's writing about a woman writing a book, which is already a mindfuck, so imagine how I felt. And I didn't like that. It didn't work for me. I didn't like the emails from Leo, which is sort of her beta reader slash friend. Didn't like that, although I liked the later half. If you've read this, you probably know what I mean. The whole mystery thing was predictable. One of the characters was an extreme red herring, so obvious that it hurt my soul. And it was obvious who it was. And the reveal of the killer, who it is and why, was so boring. I hated it. And also this book, for some reason, has romance in it, and it was not good. So yeah, I just did not like this. It could have been a 1.5, now that I'm thinking, but we're gonna leave it at a 2. The next book that I read in May was You Have a Match by Emma Lord. In this, we follow 2 main characters, Abby and Savannah? She's called Savvy, like nickname, whatever. And they find out through a DNA service that they are actually sisters. Full-blooded sisters. So they find a way to meet up and they end up going to a camp together and bonding and shit. And there's also a subplot of romance between Abby and her best friend, which I think his name was Leo. I don't remember. I gave this a 3.5. I did not live, laugh, love. The plot itself was fine. I enjoyed them getting to know each other and becoming sisters. They had sisterly fights, like I think they're realistic because my sister and I fight a lot. And this was realistic. But the reveal of why Savannah was adopted was boring to me. The characters, there's a huge cast of characters. I didn't really care for any of them. They were fine. I'm gonna forget them in like a month. The romances, there are two, Savi's romance and Abby's. That rhymes. I just realized that their names fucking rhyme. Disgusting. They both have their own romances. Both are friends to lovers. They were cute, but like nothing extraordinary. And since the focus was the sisters, it wasn't that developed or prominent, so it's like, okay. The ending was fine. It was satisfying. There were a lot of references in this, but it didn't really bother me. There was a lot of Harry Potter and Disney like references, so if you hate that, maybe be aware. And another thing that I hated about this was miscommunication. This whole book is a miscommunication. Everyone just refused to talk, which if they did, this book would have had like 50 pages. Yeah, so if you hate miscommunication, this book might not be for you. Just saying. Next, I read the Heroes of Olympus book 4 called The House of Hades by Riordan. And this actually has a short story in the back that I counted as a separate book. So I'm gonna take advantage of that. For House of Hades, I gave it a 3.5. This series is starting to piss me off. It's giving me a reading slump. I kind of hate it. The books are good. I keep giving them 4 stars. This one not, obviously. I keep giving them 4 stars and 4.5 the first one. This one though is a 3. This just dragged so much. I just cannot. This book is large. It's like 500 pages. 400 of them, nothing really happens, in my opinion. I just don't think Percy Jackson is for me. Everyone loves this to death, is always talking about how this is better than Harry Potter and stuff like that. But I low-key don't like this series. Like, it's objectively good, and after I finished a book, they're usually good. But like, after thinking about it and thinking about Percy Jackson, I don't love it as much as everyone else, and it's just not making me want to read the last one, even though I'm going to because I want to finish this. But like, I'm not gonna read the other books that I thought I was going to want to read, which are like Kane Chronicles, Trials of Apollo, Magnus Chase. I'm not reading them. I'm literally going to unhaul Magnus Chase at the end of the year, I'm pretty sure, because I'm not ever gonna read that. They're too long and not for me and boring, in my opinion. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, and if you love this series, I just don't. And then the short story in the back is called The Sword of Hades, which is about how Bob the Giant becomes Bob the Giant, and it was okay. I gave it a 3. It was fine. I don't care. Everyone's gonna actually hate me for hating on Percy Jackson, but I'm sorry. I'm being honest. And the last book that I read in May was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Thalia Hibbert. And this follows Chloe, who after almost dying, getting crushed by a car, she decides that her life is boring and she makes a list of things she wants to do so that her life is less boring. And to complete that list, she asks for the help of her superintendent called Redford, or Red, which is a bad boy looking guy. And obviously they low-key hate each other, so. I gave this a 5 star. This is so good. This is one of my favorites of the year. Probably the first, like, top 3 at this point. Love this so much. One of my new favorite books. This is so good. I love this. I love Chloe. I love Red. I love their relationship. They fucking talk. There's no miscommunication. There's like a sprinkle of it, but like not as bad as usual. It is so good. I highly recommend to anyone who hasn't read this yet. I don't know how this has an average rating of like a 3 on Goodreads. That's kind of robbery, in my opinion. I'm in love with this series. I've read the second one already. Spoiler alert for next month's wrap up, but I'm loving these. I'm currently gonna start the third one. These are so good. If you like lists of things that people want to do or try to complete, like a bucket list or a scavenger hunt, this is amazing. I say scavenger hunt because this book has sort of a scavenger hunt. She has like a list of things that her best friend left her to do, kind of. And that is one of my favorite things in books. And Chloe Brown has the same thing. I don't know if you can see either of those. So these plus the 3 arcs were all the books I read in May. Not the best reading month, although I have a new favorite book of all time. So I don't know what that says. But the rest was kind of terrible. Except for The Italian Job. But whatever. I'm sorry if I hated or shat on your favorite books. I'm looking at Percy Jackson. It's not Percy Jackson, it's Heroes of Olympus, but you know what I mean. But yeah, hopefully next month I don't hate every single book that I read like I have done so far, except for a few sprinkled here and there. But that is everything for today, and I'll see you in my next read video. Bye!